Hey everyone, I'm Mind, and this is set number 71866, Ninja Character Display 15th Anniversary from the LEGO Ninjago Legacy theme. This set contains 447 pieces, 8 minifigures, and will retail for $44.99 in the US when it officially releases on January 1st, 2026. This set was gifted to me early for review by the LEGO Group through the LEGO Ambassador Network, but all opinions expressed in this video are entirely my own. I'm doing early reviews of all of the January 2026 Ninjago sets right now. I should already have a review of the blacksmith shop up on the channel, and the other sets will be coming very soon, so make sure to let me know in the comments which set you want to see an early review of next. And if you enjoy this kind of content and you want to see more, liking and subscribing does a ton to help support me in the channel, and also helps YouTube to show you my videos more often. So thank you all very much for the support, and now let's get into the review. So here's the display, and I'm kinda shocked this set exists in the way that it does, because of course, as the name of this set suggests, it is Ninjago's 15th anniversary in 2026, and this is one of the sets to celebrate that. And as a part of the celebration, we've got these exclusive new ninja minifigures based off the ZX suits from 2012. But instead of just spacing them out like you'd expect to see across multiple sets, you get every single one in this set alone. And like, that would make sense to me if this was some huge, super expensive set, but no, this is a $45 set, one of the smaller offerings in this wave. So the fact that you get 8 minifigures here I find very impressive. So I think for most people, myself included, the main desire of the set is the actual minifigures, but that doesn't mean the actual build is insignificant, in fact far from it. So while I know everyone's very interested in seeing these minifigures up close, I am actually going to remove them for now. We'll take a look at them later in this video. If you don't want to wait, you can skip around, there should be timestamps in the description. But yeah, let's get them off of here so we can take a look at just the build on its own to start. Here's a look at the display with the minifigures removed, and it's a bit clearer what it's supposed to be. It's a little diorama of the ninja's monastery from the show, and it actually seems to be a bit more to scale than the last monastery, though of course that was the full building, this is just the front gate. And what's really cool about this is we get a little bit of the terrain outside of it, which we didn't get last time. There's some of the stairs leading up to the gates, part of the rocky mountain that the monastery is on top, and this like grassy garden here at the base complete with a cherry blossom tree. I also like this little stone lantern right here that uses the LEGO Minecraft shulker piece in light gray. That's a very cool use of that part, and it's used in more than one set this way. I know it's at least in the Dragon of Life. But yeah, I love whenever LEGO finds like creative uses for very specialized parts like that. And then at the very base of this build, we have like this golden, black, and red design, and this is actually in the style of the minifigure display stands that come in all the Legacy sets this year. Because you see, every Legacy set comes with an anniversary minifigure just like this one, and each of them are on a stand. The stands are all built exactly the same. They've got this Ninjago 15 tile at the front, some Technic pins on one side and Technicals on the other side. There's an anniversary minifigure on top, in this case it's the Master of Lightning, Jay's mother, though of course we'll look at her with the minifigures later on. And then the one special thing about them is if you remove one of these pieces, there is a 2x2 plate on the inside, and that color is different in each set depending on what character it is on top. So you can see this one's blue, presumably for the element of lightning. But yeah, these anniversary stands are all done in the same style, right? It's black, gold, and red, and it's got that tile. And that's because this set, the anniversary display, is actually meant to connect with them. So just with this set alone, you can take the Master of Lightning display that it comes with, turn it around, and attach it to the side, and then of course reverse the direction of the minifigure. So now this is one consistent display with the monastery in the center. And then if you collect the other anniversary minifigures from the other sets, for example, here's the Master of Earth from the blacksmith shop set, you could continue to connect them to each side of the build. So for example, with the Master of Earth right here, I can turn him around and attach him right next to the Master of Lightning, or attach him to the other side right here. And these are the only 2 anniversary minifigures I have to show you, at least 4 right now. We know we're getting 1 more in March, and then there should be 4 more elsewhere in the year. But throughout the year, there's going to be a total of 7, so you can create a full display with all 7. Something interesting to note, we saw like what the full display looks like at Fan Media Days this year. I have videos up about that on my channel. But that display did have a centerpiece, and the centerpiece was not this. So once we have the full lineup, I'm very curious how this set's going to interact with that set, whatever set that comes in. But because not everything's out yet, it's really hard to say at this moment. Regardless though, I think this is a super cool option because the set looks great on its own, but you have that option to attach the other anniversary minifigures on the sides. A few other things to point out, as you saw at the beginning, I had all of the ninja minifigures posed on the display, and they're able to do that thanks to these pieces that were first introduced in the LEGO DC CMF back in, what was that, 2019, 2020? But there's 4 different ones in the build, one right here on the rock, one in the monastery wall right here, one at the very top of the gate right here, and then one coming off the tree here. And if you've not seen these before, because they don't typically come in Ninjago sets, they're just great for dynamic posing, because you can attach one leg and like move it around within the wall, and then also change how the minifigures posed on top of it. But if you don't like them and you want to display this build without them, they're also very easy to remove. Removing this one doesn't affect anything, removing this one up here doesn't affect anything. This one right here would leave an open stud on the wall, but if we turn this around, you can see there's actually an open stud reversed on the other side of the wall. So if you just reverse that brick, those 2 would match, or alternatively, you could rotate this one around and attach the action piece right here instead. This one at the bottom, I believe, is the only only one that if you remove will just leave a stud in the wall. There's no way to like rotate it around to hide it, so you would need to replace that with a 1x1 brick if you care. But I also feel like an open stud being in the stone looks perfectly fine. I think the actual monastery section looks pretty good. As I mentioned, it's a little bit bigger than the last Legacy monastery we got, at least in terms of scale. Obviously, this isn't the full build. There's a pretty cool technique right here to add a little curve into the design, and at least in terms of accuracy, it seems fairly close to the show. I think at the very top here, it should be a bit bigger. Same thing with this golden disc, it should be increased in size a little bit, but honestly, I think it looks really good. It's very recognizable as what it's supposed to be. My only real critique with this entire build is the actual gates themselves, because you may notice there's a gap between them, and that's not because I have them slightly open. No, these actually can't close up perfectly. There's always going to be a little bit of a gap between them. It just has to do with the size they are and where they're attached. But I will admit, I find that a little disappointing for something that's an anniversary display, something that's supposed to be so special, and something that's a 14+ set, so they can use more complex techniques. I feel like leaving that gap there is something that's a pretty obvious miss. Now, luckily, you're meant to display minifigures on here, so it's not as clear like when you have stuff all over. And you can also display it with the gate swinging open, which I think looks really cool. And when the gates are open like this, it's not as clear that they don't close up completely. But yeah, if you want to display it with the doors closed, that's what it's going to look like. Turning it around, there's really not much interior, at least on the monastery level. There's some candles, which are a cute touch, and a few studs so you can actually pose minifigures if you want. But yeah, of course, it's very shallow. However, the biggest surprise of this set to me, and probably the coolest thing, is there's a little area underneath in the mountain. We've got a place for two minifigures to sit and have tea together. You can see there's a teapot and then two little teacups. But if we remove that and take a look at the mural behind it, this is two stickered parts, the only stickers in the entire set, and some of the coolest stickers I've ever seen in a Ninjago set. This is a mural of the battle between brothers when Sensei Wu cast Garmadon down into the underworld when they were fighting over the golden weapons that we first see in the Ninjago pilots. And the cool thing about this sticker is it's done in the style of like the animatic in those pilot episodes, but it's updated to be a bit more modern. It's got more colors, there's more like dynamic illustrations. It looks really, really cool. I especially love the depiction of the underworld with like this swirling red. And this Ninjargon on the side translates to long before time had a name, which is so cool. This is one of the best details of the entire set. They very easily could have done this set without this and I still would have loved it, but it's just a little thing that adds that extra value, and it's a place to pose minifigures too. This is phenomenal. And I think that's about all I have to show you for the build of the Ninja Anniversary display. It is the only build in the set aside from the minifigure stand for the anniversary figure, but in short, it's phenomenal. It's got about everything I could want for a set of this scale, and then it also comes with 8 amazing minifigures, so let's take a look at them. So, with the minifigures, here are the first two in this set. We have the Legacy version of Kai ZX and the Legacy version of Zane ZX. I mentioned this at the beginning, but yeah, it is so cool that they're going back and doing Legacy versions of the ZX robes. And of the 5 that we're getting, these two are definitely the best. I'm not going to be comparing these minifigures to the original ZX minifigures in this video. Instead, I'm going to make a separate video later this month comparing all of the Legacy minifigures we're getting to their original versions. But overall, both of these just feel like modernized versions of their original designs. I think in terms of actual suits, Kai is my favorite this wave. He looks absolutely perfect. Of course, the ZX suits are so iconic, and I've always loved like the dark red armor Kai had on his. But now this gold detailing that's on top of it is a lot more prominent than it was originally, and I think that looks amazing. And I like that they kept a lot of the quirks of the original design too. Like, he's got this dark gray trim on his robes, which is a color I don't think we ever really see Kai use outside of this suit. That doesn't match the color scheme we've come to expect from him, but they didn't replace it here with like dark red or something. No, they did keep that there. So it truly feels like a great upgrade to that old minifigure. All of these suits do have shoe printing too, which the originals did not have. They're still using the same armor piece, and then the hood is actually a new hood mold that's dual molded when the original was just printed on, in gold and whatever the ninja's color is. The one part I'm not super hot on is around the back the gold continues and it becomes like a headband. I don't think this looks bad per se, but that was not present on the original suits, and I just think it looks cooler when that golden star on their head is like embedded into their hood instead of being tied around it. I also think it's a bit odd that like this is clearly supposed to be metal, but then this is clearly supposed to be fabric, but it's all the same color. It just comes off as a little bit odd to me. That's a very minor nitpick though. I'm happy to see this hood come back at all. Oh, and of course in terms of accessories, they each have their golden weapons. Kai has the Sword of Fire and Zane has the Shuriken's Vice. The Sword of Fire is back to the original mold. We're no longer using that crystallized mold, which makes me very happy to see because that one was rough to say the least. But yeah, the crystallized weapons are long gone at this point. We're just back to the originals for everybody. Jay and Cole have slightly updated designs, but we'll get to that in a moment. At least in terms of these two, it's the ones that we saw before. And then on Zane, I think this outfit's really amazing as well. They kept that light tan from this original suit, which again is a color he never really uses outside of this outfit. But I love that it's equally as prominent here as it was on that original outfit. They did bring in light gray this time around on his undershirt, and they added in this belt, which he did not have on the original ZX minifigure. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it. I think it looks fine. It might look better without it just because I feel like it adds an unnecessary color. but it is just light gray, so it doesn't change things too much. And I appreciate them keeping these brown belts at the base, and they actually added these buckles to sort of make him match Kai a little bit more, because he did not have those originally. But now let's remove their hoods. So Kai, of course, has his standard Ninjago movie face. He's had that since 2017. But you may have noticed Zane has a yellow head, and I've had a lot of comments asking me, what's Zane's head? What headpiece does Zane have? And when I saw this, when I got the box out, I assumed it was just going to be like a standard LEGO City headpiece or something, but it is not. It is actually probably the best possible case scenario, because it's his original design. It's a new expression for Zane's original design from 2011. And this is something I have wanted for so long, and I never thought we were ever going to get. Because I believe this is the first time they've gone back and given us an expression in the original design since they switched in 2017. Technically there was FS Kai, but I think that was a mistake. But like the first time we got Legacy, they only used the new designs. I thought there was some ban internally about going back to the original designs. But no, this is the original Zane face design with a new expression. For reference, here's the original Zane face, which was first introduced back in 2011, and it was used all the way up until 2014, when in 2015 he became titanium. But the reason I've wanted this specifically for Zane for the longest time is because he never got a second expression for his yellow face. With the rest of the ninja, eventually we got more expressions for them, right? Jay got a new one in Skybound with his original design, Kai got one in Hands of Time, and also one in the Target Cube back in 2014 or 15? Cole got one in Day of the Departed, and also in that Toys R Us, like, Stone Armor Cole box. But Zane, because he turned titanium so quickly, never got more expressions for his original design. And he did get quite a few different heads, but it was always battle damaged, or it was different expressions for titanium. But now, after 15 years, we finally have like a happy Zane expression, and I feel like this perfectly captures his personality from season 1. If you're curious what he looks like with his original hairpiece, there it is, and wow, that's so amazing to finally have. That looks perfect. Of course, this piece does not come in this set, I'm just showing you guys what it looks like. And then the craziest part is, this is a double-sided face, and if I turn this around, look at that. That is so cool. It's the battle damage Zane face, which we first see in season 1, and then it's also used in Rebooted. And we have technically gotten this before twice, but this is also an all-new expression for this version of the face, because the first time we got it, it was basically just this original expression with half the face torn off, and the second time was like a slightly more annoyed expression, but it was still a closed mouth. But this time around, we actually have Zane gritting his teeth, which I'm pretty sure you actually see in his sacrifice during season 3, so I think this is amazing. And of course, if you put his hood back on, this is what he looks like, which is a great representation of Zane in the season 1 finale. I cannot believe this face print is real, it's incredible. Now, seeing they were able to do this for Zane, it would have been amazing if the other 4 ninja also could have gotten brand new faces in their original designs. I do understand why that didn't happen, they have a limited budget for minifigures, and if all the original ninja got new faces, we may not have been able to get another minifigure, like for example the anniversary figures, so that minifigure budget went elsewhere, right? Zane's the only one who needed it because he needed to have a yellow face, and his previous yellow face is no longer in production. So yeah, it would have been great to get it for all 4, but if they're gonna do it for 1, I'm glad it was Zane, because it makes the most sense, and also he needed it most. So yeah, this is absolutely awesome. I love this minifigure, and Kai is very good too. Here's the look of their back torso prints with the armor and hoods removed, and you can see they are back to using their original symbols, which makes me so incredibly happy to see. Zane's got the wolf and Kai's got that, like, fire lion. These are awesome. I so much prefer these to their modern symbols, and I want to see them used more even on modern figures. So it's great to have new figures in 2026 that still use them. But, like, look how cool these are, man. This is perfect. Zane's got a little more of that tan on his back, and Kai's dark red armor continues back here, too. These are definitely a good bit more detailed than the backs of the original ZX minifigures. Now, moving to the next 2 minifigures in the set, we have Legacy Cole ZX and Legacy Jay ZX. And before we talk about the minifigures, let's talk about their accessories, because they both come with their own respective golden weapons. Cole has the Side that Quakes, and Jay has the Nunchucks of Lightning. And unlike the last 2 that we saw, these 2 both do have new designs for this set and this wave in general. The Side that Quakes has been rough for the entirety of its time in Ninjago. I still think the original Side that Quakes from 2012 is the best looking one. The crystallized one was interesting. It was definitely the best of the crystallized weapons, but it was also weirdly thin, and it had a very short hilt as well, so it was far from perfect. But yeah, I still hope one day we get like a show-accurate Side the Quakes that has a blade at the top with the dragon face on the blade. I understand that would require an entirely new part, and that's why we haven't gotten it yet. But yeah, the change this time around is now there's a dragon hilt at the base, sort of like the reforged Side the Quakes from the first Legacy wave. The bar here is a little bit shorter, but then they sort of go back to the original 2012 design. However, instead of the tooth at the top, it's a spike, so it doesn't have that curve, it's more straight. And like, I don't think this is the worst thing ever, but I do think that original design with the tooth is better. So at least personally, for my displays, I'm probably going to be swapping this out for the original. I don't know if the Golden Tooth is still in production, so that might be why we're not getting it. But yeah, it would have definitely been cool if they'd found a way to give us a show-accurate Side of the Quakes after all this time. It's whatever, though. This is fine. It's not offensive like, say, the crystallized Sword of Fire was. And then the Nunchucks of Lightning have also slightly changed. They're still using the dragon hilts like the first Legacy wave. However, now they're using that new shorter chain piece with the bar connections that was introduced in Lunar New Year last year. And I saw a lot of people very excited for this, but I'll be honest, I actually don't like this change. I prefer the original chain that it used. This is cool in theory, but my biggest issue is it's just too short. There's only one chain link to separate the two halves, so it just makes it very short. I wish it was a bit longer. Because of this, it's much harder for Jay to hold the nunchucks in two hands. You can do it like this, which looks alright, but I much prefer the freedom of the longer chain where you can move his hands around a lot more, because once you have it in this position, it's a lot more locked in place. The other thing is, this would have been the perfect opportunity to finally give us that transparent light blue chain. We know it's possible to make chains in that color because we've gotten the long chain piece in that color, but yeah, the short one has still never been made in transparent light blue. And that's another thing that, just like the Side of the Quakes, every time we get the weapon again, I wonder, is this going to be the time they do it? And unfortunately, no, it was not this time. It's fine though, again, like this works, it definitely represents the Nunchucks of Lightning well enough. If you have older sets in your collection like I do, I'm probably going to swap this out for the Legacy version, but if this is your first time getting the Nunchucks of Lightning, this does look like them. But now removing the accessories, here's a look at just the minifigures, and these two are definitely controversial, because there's a big change that happened here. They both use gold armor and a gold head crest, when originally they had silver armor and a silver head crest. People are very upset about this, and I get it. I definitely would have preferred, like, accurate upgrades, because of course Zane and Kai look just like their original versions, but improved, while these are, like, distinctly different designs. But I will say, on Cole at the very least, I think this does look pretty good. Like, no, it's not the colors he had on his ZX suit, but I feel like they found a way to make the gold work really well. There's minimal changes to the torso and legs, again, just like Kai and Zane, they've mostly just been modernized. But the one change they did make is add a little bit of gold plating into his armor, and I think that looks fantastic. It ties into the armor and hood perfectly, and gold and black is just generally a quite good color combination. On Jay, though, it's a bit rougher because he has this one, like, silver armored arm. That is one of the coolest aspects of Jay's original ZX suit, and I'm happy they didn't make that gold at the very least, but yeah, it definitely feels like a weird disconnect between that armor and the shoulder pads. I appreciate at the very least they tried to make it work. They added, like, some gold lightning detailing to the armor, and there's also, like, new gold detailing in the legs as well as on the belt, so they brought the gold into more of the suit to sort of tie it all together. But even still, I think two different colors of metallic plastic on a minifigure feels like too much most of the time. So this is better in hand than I was expecting it to be, but Jay is definitely the worst of these Legacy ZX figures. The gold just really doesn't feel like it fits him. I do like the little lightning symbols that are now on his belt, metallic gold, that's cool. I appreciate that they kept his very light blue for his undershirt and his belt. That's a color that he doesn't use a ton these days. And this might surprise you, but just like Zane, he also has a brand new face print. Now you might be wondering, why did they give Jay a new face print but not Kai or Cole? And that's because Jay's face is actually out of production. The movie Jay face, that's retired. It is not coming to set since January 2023, and when this comes out, it's going to be 2026. So yeah, that face is just fully out of production. The other ninja had their movie faces brought back in Tournament of Sources, so that kept those faces around, but Dark Jay used the Dragon's Rising face, so that movie face just disappeared. So if they didn't want to use the Dragon's Rising face, they had to invent a new one here. So this came as a complete surprise, but yeah, we have an entirely new Jay expression. This side of the face I really love. It's this sort of awkward smile, and it feels straight out of the show. This is very, like, Wild Brain Jay to me. The alternate face is a bit odd. I feel like this angry expression's a bit too intense for Jay, but we also have plenty of other angry Jays. Like, Rogue this past year has a good, just, like, angry, annoyed expression. The movie Jay face was good. So at the very least, this feels like a very good new Jay expression, even if it doesn't fit his personality perfectly. What I would have really loved, though, is like a new scared or screaming Jay face, because we've never actually gotten that. The only ninja to ever have that expression, I think, is Digi-Kai. And if you look at that Digi-Kai minifigure, that expression on a Jay minifigure would be perfect. So I feel like it's a missed opportunity to not do that and instead do another angry face. This open mouth smile, though, I think is perfect, and I feel like it's something that was missing for Jay. Another thing, too, is because this headpiece is being introduced in a Legacy set, I think it would have been awesome if they brought back the eyebrow notch. They don't need to fully go back and do the original Jay design like they did with Zane, but because it's Legacy, I think bringing back the eyebrow notch would have been awesome. However, I assume the reason why they didn't do that is because this is not just a Legacy face, it's only being introduced in Legacy. However, this is just our standard Jay face from now on. So if they brought back the eyebrow notch, they'd be stuck with it, and I assume they want to keep a consistent design. But yeah, new Jay face was a very fun surprise. There's a look at their back torso prints with their armors removed. Of course, Cole also has his movie face, I didn't point that out, but yeah, nothing new there. And just like Kai and Zane, they both have their original symbols back here, which is so cool to see. I hope those become a regular part of their design again. I so much prefer these to their newer symbols. Like, these animals that they each have are so cool. Like Jay having an octopus, that's so unique. And you can see the lightning effects on the silver armor continue around the back of Jay, too. And there's a better look at the front torso prints. Oh, also, I didn't mention Jay's silver arm. I appreciate that it's actually still silver, because the original ZX suit used light bluish gray, and this was updated for Day of the Departed, but they very easily could have gone back to light bluish gray here, and I'm happy they didn't. The silver looks much better, pattern is a much better representation of how it looks in the show. I think this guy would actually look quite good if you put the silver armor and his original hood piece on, but I'll save that for another video. Next up, we have the Legacy version of Lloyd ZX, and then a new Samurai X Nia. And just like Jay and Cole, Lloyd has also changed his armor color and head crest color from his original suit. The old Lloyd ZX had gunmetal gray, this one uses gold instead, and I think he actually makes the change the best, because it sort of makes sense for him. For one, he actually uses this color scheme in Season 2, so it's not completely unfounded, unlike Jay and Cole, who always used silver in those early seasons. But also, he becomes the Golden Ninja, it makes sense for him to use gold so prominently. And I think it fits really nicely with his color scheme. He's got his more modern, like, movie sword weapon, which he didn't have back then, but it's cool they gave him something. And you can see Nia here just has 2 black katanas. But yeah, the Lloyd outfit just feels like a phenomenal callback to that original Green Ninja suit. There's like all these little golden dragon scales which look perfect. The shaping and everything does just feel like a modernized version of that original Lloyd. I appreciate that they kept the dark green arms too, which I think is an iconic part of that original suit. But the coolest part is, if I take off the armor and hood, you can see the back torso print, and they actually gave him his original snake symbol, which is so neat. Lloyd switched to using a dragon symbol with, I think, Golden Lloyd, and that sort of became his animal symbol from then on. The snake definitely felt like a remnant of old Ninjago, so the fact that they brought back the snake symbol instead of the dragon one is amazing to see, because that's what that suit actually had. And then, of course, he's got a standard movie face print. I really don't have much else to say about this suit. It's a very close remake of that original, just with gold instead of silver and gunmetal gray, but I think it looks really good and represents Lloyd well. And then Samurai X was a complete surprise to be getting in this set. I fully expected us to just get the Nia that comes in the blacksmith shop, but no, this is an entirely new exclusive design for this set. And I also think this one looks really cool. It's another non-canon Samurai X, which we have a lot of those. Like, you'd be surprised how many non-canon Samurai X suits they've made. But hey, I'm happy to add another one to the collection. Her torso and leg print is very similar to the original 2012 Samurai X suit, but it also seems to be inspired by Maya's outfit, Nia's mother. Maya does come in another set this wave, the blacksmith shop, so I think this is a really cool idea for a Samurai X suit, one that's inspired by her mother's outfit. She also has a blue belt, which is a neat touch. She didn't have that originally, but that's a neat way to call to her future as the water ninja. And a change they made this wave, they brought back Nia's original phoenix symbol. However, when they designed that, it's because she was Kai's sister. Kai was the fire ninja, so they gave her a firebird symbol. But now that in retrospect we know she becomes the water ninja instead, you can see the phoenix symbol is actually slightly updated to have more of like a watery, wavy effect to it instead of a fiery effect, which I think is a really neat touch that they did that, despite the actual suit still obviously being red. You can also see a bit of Nia's Season 1 outfit beneath the armor, specifically those white loops at the top. I think that's some really good attention to detail. And I love how detailed the legs are this time around, including like the shoe printing. Like, that looks phenomenal. They brought back the gunmetal gray Samurai X helmet, which is what she originally had, and it's been out of production for a few years, so that's very cool to see. However, of course, the elephant in the room is the fact that she doesn't have the original Samurai X armor. We've not seen that since, what, like 2021? So I assume it's just out of production right now, and at least for me, I think that's fine. I have that armor piece I've been collecting for forever, and I think it's kind of cool when you can actually see her torso design, which you can't if you have that armor piece on. Instead, they used the Tournament of Sources armor, which I'll admit is a little bit weird. I don't know if the gold really fits. I would have preferred if it was like a gunmetal gray armor piece, but I guess it makes her fit better with the rest of the ninja. And then her horns, too, are not the original Samurai X horns, but these look cool at the very least. Face print on her is, of course, the standard Ninjago movie face, and there's like the alternate face and back torso print, where again that phoenix symbol is there with a more watery effect. This minifigure was a complete surprise, but an awesome one to get. And then here are the final 2 minifigures in the set. We have Sensei Wu, and then our anniversary figure, the Master of Lightning. Sensei Wu is the same one in the blacksmith shop, so I've already covered him. But in short, I mean, he's good, he's fine. It is just a remake of 2011 Wu, and it's pretty faithful to that original design. I like that his original symbol's back. I like the little sandals he has now. I'm not a fan of how they made his belt shorter. I think those big belts are one of the most fun parts of those 2011 figures. And he's got a bit more going on his torso now. He's got some gray, he's got a black undershirt, and his face print's not new for this wave, but it's the one that was introduced in the Legend set, so it's nice to have that a bit more accessible. I also realized they changed his staff color to be a bit more show accurate, which feels off to me. I'm so used to him carrying just that standard reddish brown staff. But yeah, if you look at the show, this is more the color his staff is, so I guess that's neat to finally get officially. But yeah, I mean, he's solid. And then the Master of Lightning. I am still in awe that these are real figures that we're getting, and just like, wow, I can't believe this is finally happening. Starting with her accessory, she comes with a little lightning blast, which I love, because despite Ninjago being all about elemental powers, it's rare we get elemental powers depicted in the sets. Wildfire carries fire, and you'll see, like, elements on vehicles and stuff. But it's not often you see it in the character's hands, like, actually shooting out. So this is a small thing, but it's something I really appreciate, because it's the kind of thing I always wanted as a kid, but I didn't have parts to, like, represent ice or earth. I had fire, but that was kind of it. So it's a little thing, but that being included in all the sets this wave is awesome. But yeah, the Master of Lightning herself looks really, really good. Her hairpiece is the exact one from the show in bright yellow. Absolutely nothing bad to say about that. The torso and legs look so incredibly good. They use metallic blue for all those lightning effects. Look how how amazing that is. And she's got Jay's kimono symbol in the center right there, which I'm pretty sure is accurate to how she appeared in the show. I love just the multiple colors of blue that they used, right? Because the actual torso is dark blue, but then we have regular blue and of course the metallic blue. And the gold detailing's perfect. It adds like a nice splash, but it's not overdone. Because Ninjago loves to use their gold, but it doesn't feel like too much here. Black and dark blue is a great color combination as well, because they're both so dark that they sort of blend together, but it does create like a little bit of depth that really helps this figure. I think that's what's really cool about the original Elemental Masters, is they're not as stuck to one color scheme as the Ninja are. Like, I guess we had Dark J that used this, but having like a hero character with this color scheme is amazing. And then the face print, definitely the weakest part about this figure. It is just a standard LEGO City face. We've actually seen it in Ninjago before. They used it for Camille, and I'm not the biggest fan of this face. It's like a criminal face. She's got this very evil looking smirk, but I also don't think it's the worst for her. I think it works fine. And LEGO's made lots of yellow female faces over the years, so I'm sure you could find one in your collection that might fit her better. Back torso print is great as well. You have more of that metallic blue lightning effect and the blue undershirt as well. Such a phenomenal bonus in this set. Like, the other 7 minifigures were already perfect, and then they still managed to throw in the anniversary figure as well. Yeah, this minifigure lineup is kind of unmatched for any Ninjago set ever. Very, very impressed by it. But now, overall, what are my thoughts on this set? I mean, you should get it. If you're a Ninjago fan, you should get this set. I really don't see any reason why not. I touched on the price a little bit at the beginning, but yeah, talking about price, it's way better than it needed to be. Because listen, 8 minifigures and 450 pieces, they very easily could have charged $60, even $70 for it. And listen, would I have complained if that happened? Absolutely. But I also would have understood, and it also probably still would have sold very, very well. Because I mean, it's 8 minifigures, and it's every minifigure you probably want from this wave. But no, this is about as cheap as I can imagine them making it with this many minifigures and this many pieces. $45 is perfect. That's a really good value. So yeah, if you're a fan of classic Ninjago at all, I highly recommend picking this one up. It's kind of a no-brainer. The build is great for what it's trying to be. It makes for an awesome display piece, but there's also enough to do in it that's not like boring if a kid were to buy it. And minifigures are so good. Like, obviously I have my critiques of like Jay, but I think it's so awesome that they're going back and doing the ZX suits at all. And the attention to detail here is phenomenal. You get the Master of Lightning as well. I cannot believe they put just every desirable minifigure from this wave in a $45 set. That's wild to me. It's absolutely awesome though. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of this set. Are you going to be picking it up? And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like on it, subscribe to my channel if you're new, and let me know in the comments which 2026 Ninjago set do you want to see an early review of next. But as for this video, I think that's about all I have to say, so thanks for watching everybody. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!